Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever, whenever you're listening to the show. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, British by birth, American by choice, welcoming you to episode 270 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. Very pleased to be with you. As I said, it's episode 270. I never thought I'd get this far, but time flies when you're having fun, and I really enjoy being here and bringing you these messages, hopefully useful messages, and as things start to heat up on the political front, as we get more and more people entering the GOP race and we get closer and closer to the primaries, things are going to be a lot of fun. So, what have we got this week? Well, this week we've got a mishmash of stuff. I want to talk about the Second Amendment. I want to talk about how the mainstream media is going after Marco Rubio in the most underhand and hypocritical ways. I want to talk about, obviously, probably have to mention a little bit about this nonsense in McKinney. Although, how much of it is nonsense, how much is not. And then, of course, Camp Clinton with Hillier herself, just more and more surfacing about shady dealings in that arena. And just unbelievable that she can even be a candidate with the amount of stuff that's surfacing now. Anybody with any ounce of integrity would have said, you know what, I'm not going to run because I've just got too much baggage. But again, the mainstream media are carrying water for her, and we're going to show how. At least hope so. I got a lot of things to talk about, so let's get on. And I want to start off with, first of all, with my weekly commentary. So Patrick Come Lately's weekly commentary, just a bunch of short topics that I just want to give my quick comments on. First one, I want to talk about Second Amendment topics, and it's not really very much in the news now, though I saw some posts in a number of blogs about some new regulations that Obama is trying to bring out. And so I'm going to get back to some of these things later, but it's obvious that Khalif Hussein and this regime have a crusade against guns, and all the left-wing morons have this crusade against firearms. So, I think I've talked about these numbers before, but I think it's a good thing to bring them up again. What I wanted to do is go back and sort of say, well, if they've got this thing about so many people being killed by guns, what about people that are killed by cars? Is there any relationship between the fuss about guns and any kind of fuss about cars? Well, there's a lot of fuss about guns, very little about cars. And yet, believe it or not, there's roughly, just very roughly, 3 times more people killed every year by cars than gun homicides. Now, I use those words very specifically, gun homicides, and I'll tell you why. the reason I use the word gun homicide, this is where someone uses a gun to kill someone else. If you add in suicides by gun, then the number is much closer, because there are a lot of people that use guns to kill themselves. Now, I don't think it's right to include those when you're talking about the dangers of guns, because if you want to kill yourself, you will. Does a gun make it easier? Perhaps. But the number of suicides go down a little bit? Researchers have tried to correlate suicides and gun ownership, but have been unable to find a true correlation. There are certain ones where obviously people with an agenda skew it one way or the other. But quite frankly, I think it is fair to exclude suicides from this calculation, because we don't hear a lot about people using automobiles for suicides. So basically, car accidents kill people and guns kill people. No, people using guns kill people. And if you look at about 9,000 gun homicides, a significant portion of that is going to be of people who shouldn't have a gun. Yes, illegal guns. Now, the gun control lobby says, well, because there are so many guns floating around, it's easy for the illegal people to get hold of guns. But have you noticed all the time that anytime they talk about gun control, all these plans they have are to remove guns from law-abiding citizens and never from doing anything really serious about removing them from non-law-abiding citizens. In other words, anybody who's going to have a gun illegally. Why don't we focus on that? Why don't we spend some money on that, Mayor Bloomberg? Why don't you do that? Put some money into getting rid of the unlawful guns, because then those gun homicides would go down significantly. Because I don't have the exact figures, but I'm pretty certain that a greater than 50% number of those gun homicides is going to be directly attributable to people who have the guns illegally. Now, just to give you the exact numbers, in recent years, it's difficult to get numbers to compare a year, but in recent years, there have been roughly 33,000 automobile deaths, and 9, 10, 8,000 gun homicides. You see, it's roughly about 1/3 there. Folks, that shows you that there is something else behind this want to get rid of guns, because it isn't really, they try and say, oh, well, there's too many gun deaths. Of course there are. There are always too many. Anytime there is a death, an unnecessary death, then that's too many. But if there's 3 times as many automobile accidents, why don't we fuss more about automobile accidents? How many of those automobile fatalities are due to drunk driving? Why don't we do more about drunk driving? We're going to reintroduce prohibition. Yeah, folks. Anyway, if I have time, I'm going to talk more about the regime's crusade, as I said earlier on. But for the moment, that is my first weekly summary topic. But let's go on to the next one. Next one is about the lamestream media, and also for this, probably going to spend a bit more time later in the show on this. But first of all, I want to talk about the New York Times that did this Pulitzer Prize subject of investigating Marco Rubio and his family, well, basically his wife, and their driving habits. That's right. In the last 20 years, Marco Rubio has had 4 traffic tickets, and his wife has had something like 14 traffic tickets. So together they have 18 traffic tickets over the last 20 years. That's probably about 1 ticket a year. Well, we can't have someone like that in the White House. I mean, that would be a danger to America. Well, as one commentator put, no, maybe we should put him in the White House so that he won't have to drive and she won't have to drive anymore. And let's just think about that. Hilaire herself hasn't driven apparently since 1996, and she claims to be a woman of the people. Ha! Anyway, but of course, so there's this possible Pulitzer Prize winning article about how Marco Rubio has all these traffic tickets. But let's measure that against Hilaire. What about her husband? What has he done that we maybe be able to sort of look at and say, that wasn't so good? What about the fact that the State Department analysts warned Clinton in July 1996 that Osama bin Laden moving to Afghanistan would give him an even more dangerous haven as he sought to expand radical Islam well beyond the Middle East. And Bill Clinton's regime chose not to deter the move. Okay, so Marco Rubio's wife gets traffic tickets and Hilaire's husband ignores intelligence information that basically results in 9/11. Yeah, great moral equivalency there, don't you think? Okay, before we go on to the next topic, just want to say hi to my regular listeners, Paul and Rex in the chat room there. And just a reminder, if you are listening live to the show, please go to the chat room, click on the speech bubble in your little Spreaker dialog box in the little window there. Click on the little speech bubble and join in the chat room. Want to say hi to the gentleman, and apologies last week. Again, we had some technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. I hope it's not the hotel. Signal seems quite strong this week for the network, so I'm hoping no problems. But anyway, so let's have a look. We've got time for one more commentary here, and this commentary is about what went on in McKinney. I'm sure you've all seen the video about the police officer who was called to the site of a pool party, and where there was basically a riot going on, and they were trying to subdue it. Originally, there was just one guy, and this one guy has now resigned from the police force because of the fact that people did not like it that he pulled a gun at one point. While the video, in a way, in itself looks very bad, you also need to know some of the background, and there've been some things spread out now on the internet and also on TV of people who are actually there. And basically, what was not explained, this private pool, which belonged to the neighborhood, somebody had arranged for end of school type of party, and apparently hired a DJ, although none of the neighbors in that particular neighborhood now will admit to having done that. And this DJ was playing very explicit, very loud music for a number of hours, and teenagers were being brought into the neighborhood by the carload, and the DJ was tweeting out invites to this pool party for $15. Now, of course, this was a private pool, and he should not have been doing that. Now, someone claims it was actually arranged by a family there, and it was supposed to be for kids from school, but it is a private pool, and there were so many kids there that couldn't really get into the pool. They were climbing over the fence. They were being disrespectful to the residents that were already in the pool. So this was becoming a riot. So someone called the police. They have a security guard there, and he was getting disrespected. So they called the police, and this first officer came and started trying to quell things. And then just as he was going on, another couple of officers came, and obviously you've seen the video, so you know what's going on. But a couple of things there. Obviously, it was a private pool. All these kids were there. I don't think it is anything racial. However, there were a lot of black kids there, and as soon as the black kids were being told to do something, a lot of the time they were not. Now, I don't know whether the white kids that were there were ignoring the police in the same way. So, but on the video you can see that the black kids were. Is this part of the whole Ferguson, Baltimore attitude that these kids are getting? I believe so. The other thing is about drawing the gun. If you watch the video closely, and this is something that some commentators like Sean Hannity as well have mentioned on, and I agree with totally, that was the first thing that struck me, that as he's trying to subdue this girl who's really fighting back, a couple of boys move in behind him, and one of them, you actually see his hand go as if he's going to his back pocket. Well, I can imagine being the police officer, seeing that movement out of the corner of his eye and just going, oh shit, and pardon my French there, and just getting his gun out, not knowing what was going on, not knowing whether these boys might have had a gun with them. Well, of course, this is all blown up. The officer has had his career destroyed because he's resigned and probably won't be able to get another job in the police. But you see, there's another side to the story that's not being told. The left are using this yet again, and often I wonder whether these sort of things are being, they're doing it deliberately, setting up situations to taunt the police in the hope that these sort of things can happen so that they can further their agenda of making the police look bad. Okay, folks, it's time to take a break for a commercial. In fact, I'm quite late on that, but let's go on. Here's the commercial. I'll be back after these messages.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And folks, we're back after that break. Thanks for sticking with me through the break. And just a quick word to my friends in the chat room. Looks like the chat room has frozen yet again. Sorry about that. Not sure what's going on, but so I can't join you in the chat room. But chat away if hopefully you'll be seeing stuff at your end. And otherwise, you'll just be forced to listen to my dulcet tones. And I think this week, a short weekly summary, I think it's time to move on. And let's have a look at the more serious topics. More serious and in-depth topics, and wanted to come back to basically the most corrupt, money-grubbing family in American politics. Yes, the Clintons. Now, we have a new Attorney General, Loretta Lynch. Don't you think she ought to be investigating what's going on at the Clinton camp? Instead, they dig up whatever they can about some current or former Republican or senator or congressman to indict on some BS process crime relating to some underlying state crime, which so the Fed shouldn't even be involved with, something from maybe a number of years ago, just to keep the Clintons off the front page. Well, we've heard about lots of things. What about, again, just a very obvious case, and of course the Clinton camp says, oh, no, there's no impropriety here, nothing to see, move on. But how interestingly, Bill Clinton's foundation was collecting money from the country of Sweden while Hillary was being lobbied by the Swedish government on sanctions against Iran. Yes, Bill Clinton's foundation set up a fundraising arm in Sweden, and it actually collected over $26 million in donation while the country was lobbying the State Department to forgo sanctions that threatened its thriving business with Iran, and specifically countries like Ericsson, that the telecommunications giant. They make cell phone equipment. Sweden was lobbying to make sure that the sanctions wouldn't affect that very profitable business. Now, as the money flowed from Sweden into the foundation, Mrs. Clinton's team in Washington declined to blacklist any Swedish firms, despite warnings from career officials at the U.S. Embassy in Stockholm that Sweden was growing its economic ties with Iran. Sweden does not support implementing tighter financial sanctions on Iran and believes more stringent financial standards could hurt Swedish exports. And part of those exports were, believe it or not, cell phone tracking technology that Iran could use could use to track dissidents, i.e. giving the country's security services the ability to clamp down on any protests. Now, on top of collecting this money, Mr. Clinton himself pocketed a record $750,000 speech fee from Ericsson, one of the firms at the center of the sanctions debate. Right, this is the one that was creating the cell phone tracking and other business with Iran. Now, a lot of this escaped notice because the fundraising shell was incorporated in Sweden, which is a long way away, and when reported upon, it was all lumped into everything of the US-based charity, so it wasn't split out. You couldn't see that it was there. So it blurred the lines between these two organizations that were actually officially, legally incorporated under two different countries' laws. The foundation told a reporter that the Swedish entity was set up to collect donations from popular lotteries in that country, and it went to charitable causes. But we've already seen in prior weeks that a lot of the foundation money gets spent on expenses, travel, etc., and very little actually ends up with charities. The reporters also tried to get a statement from the 2016 presidential campaign, but in 2 weeks of asking, absolutely nothing was said. Now, we all know that Hilaya, when she became President Obama's Secretary of State, she vowed to set up a transparent review system that would ensure any of her husband's fundraising or lucrative speaking activities were reviewed for possible ties to foreign countries doing business with her agency, because she wanted to eliminate even the appearance of conflict of interest. Well, lady, I have news for you. The appearance of a conflict of interest is very heavy there. And I don't think it's just the appearance. I think there is a very definite conflict of interest going on there. Now, there's more and more evidence that not only did she not run these financial activities like the Swedish fundraising arm by the State Department, but she did not disclose it either on her annual ethic form, and also did not talk about the existence of an LLC that Mr. Clinton set up for his personal consulting work. Yeah, that's where the $750,000 went to. Terrible, isn't it? Now, Representative Dan Burton, now retired, he was a Republican who chaired the Main House Investigative Committee in the late 1990s that was probing the Clinton activities, ranging from travel office firings, remember, in the White House, whitewater investments, and Asian fundraising. And he says that one thing they were good at is mixing things up and keeping it hidden as to where and how and why they were raising money. And we know about all the money that came in for coffee meetings in the White House, access to top officials, nights in the Lincoln bedroom. Again, in spite of Bill Clinton's promise to run the most ethical administration in history. Yeah, right. So, folks, don't trust this lady. She cannot be trusted. Tell your friends, tell your acquaintances, tell your enemies. She must not be given access to the White House. She will turn it into the biggest cash cow ever, and this country will be sold down the river. Now, of course, all these revelations about all this money coming in for Sweden is very interesting, especially because Sweden was really doing a lot of business with Iran at the time. And now when the New York Times did report in the same time that the Washington Post was bringing this information out, that Iran had been enriching uranium for the last 18 months, while King Barry had said, well, we're negotiating with them and we're going to put a lid on this. Yeah, right. However, I did give the new topic, Simon. So look, what's the new topic? Well, the new topic is actually the flow of money into the Clinton pockets wasn't one way. Yes, they did occasionally pay money out. And the Clinton Family Foundation in 2008, when Hillary was running for president, actually gave $100,000 to a New York Times charitable fund. Shortly after that, the newspaper endorsed Hillary Clinton in the hotly contested Democratic presidential primary. This is something being reported by the Washington Free Beacon. This is it. The money, the $100,000, went to the New York Times Neediest Cases Fund. Right? It's a charity run by members of the board of directors and senior executives. All very well and good. Now, in an email, the spokesperson for the New York Slimes categorically rejected the report. The Free Beacon story is preposterous from start to finish. Preposterous in what way? All they've done is produce the facts and let us deduct what comes from those facts. The fact is that the Clinton Foundation did give $100,000 to the charitable fund. The fact is the New York Slimes did endorse Hillary. And now what the Free Beacon also found out and brought to the forefront is that actually a lot of the directors, a lot of the senior management at the Slimes actually wanted to endorse Barack Obama, but they were overruled. They were overruled by the Times chairman and publisher Arthur Sulzberger Jr. Interesting. Why would he overrule that? Well, and this is Free Beacon got some of this information from that very right-wing extremist magazine called Vanity Fair. Yes, the one that has all the left-wing articles in it. So it isn't just Free Beacon right-wing extremism putting this forward. The left-wing are doing it as well. The Times editorial page editor vehemently denied the report at the time, calling it completely false that Sulzberger had overruled his editorial board. But here's another interesting fact. Since 2008, the Clinton Family Foundation has not given a single dime to that Times charity either. So you want to add 2 and 2 together and get 5? Very easy to do. Now, the New York Slimes has really shown itself, as I was mentioning earlier in the show, shown it to be so hypocritical and biased and basically carrying water for the Clintons, because not only did they dig up this information about the speeding tickets, they also started attacking Marco Rubio because he could not afford to pay for college, arrogantly describing his student loan debt as a deep financial hole of his own making. Okay, so Romney gets attacked for being too rich. Marco gets attacked for being too poor. New York Slimes, make up your mind here. Make up your mind, because what do you want? And the way they phrase things is also just so hypocritical. They talked about the fact that after he got an advance to write a book and was able to pay off a lot of his loans, etc., he splurged on himself. Now, if you just got $800,000, wouldn't you do that? In most cases, they recommend that you should spend about 10% of that on yourself. Marco did a little bit more than that, but not a lot, about $130,000 on the speedboat and an expensive car. Now, the speedboat, the Times described as an extravagant luxury speedboat. You see the pictures. You see it's just an ordinary family deep-sea fishing boat. Not cheap at $80,000, but is it extravagant? Come on, this is South Beach. This is Miami. You've got $1 million yachts there. I mean, this is just a small thing. Oh, and by the way, the boat easily fits into Hilaya's swimming pool at her home on Long Island. Someone did the investigation of that using Google Maps and found out that the boat would easily fit into her pool because her pool is much bigger. So hypocrisy again from the lamestream media, but it gets even worse. We will be back right after these messages.
Patriot come lately. British by birth, American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network. And thanks for sticking with me through the break. I just want to remind you folks, if you want to contact me, if you're listening live, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, it looks like the chat room has frozen, so my apologies for that. I do like to communicate in the breaks with the folks in the chat room. Can't do that now, so I'm not sure what's happening there. However, on the other hand, you can always send me an email. Stefan at patriotcomelately.us is the address that you can send it, or you can go to my website www.patriotcomelately.us, and there's a contact button there. Click on the contact link, it'll open up a form and you can send a message to me that way. And obviously for my listeners who listen to some of the rebroadcasts which go out via the Red State Talk Radio Network, now with 2 channel streams, and try to remember to give you my schedule for that next week and tell you how you can actually find me on Red State Talk Radio, and now also via the 405media.com. That's a left coast network similar to Red State Talk Radio, and they are broadcasting me. I think it's 11 a.m. Pacific time every every day they do rebroadcast the show, so opportunity there to listen to the show. So plenty of opportunities, as well as going to archives.patrickcomelately.us and listen to the show 24/7 anytime you want. Just click on the link there. Okay, before we go into the next topic, and as I said, we're talking about the New York Times really lambasting Marco Rubio, but really twisting the truth there by saying, extravagant luxury speedboat. It's only a 24-foot speedboat. And then they also posted a photo of Marco Rubio's home in West Miami with the caption, "The Rubios live in a home in West Miami that is one of the most expensive ones in the area." Yes, in that area, perhaps. Right? You begrudge him, he had an $800,000 windfall, you begrudge him getting a good house. However, the residence is modest by South Florida standards. So it may be for that particular area, but for the general Miami area, it is just a tiny, tiny little house, nothing at all like all the more expensive mansions that you can find in the South Beach area, etc. I think the reason for these attacks, the left is worried about Marco Rubio because of his youth. And this is obviously a challenge to old Grandma Hilaire and the unusual circumstances that brought him into this lofty political perch, right? He started really from nothing. His father came here with nothing. He's always been a very poor family. So the left are going to be hammering him as much as they could do. And surprise, surprise, the New York Times published these articles, but where do you think the New York Times got that information from? Well, from their reporters? No, you don't do that. No, if you're the New York Slimes, you're carrying water for the Clintons, so you let a Democratic super PAC do the research for you. And when someone calls you out on it, you then run to the Politico blog and have one of their people claim to have helped with the research. Now, so that's what they did. Again, this was the Free Beacon went and did the research and found out that the information about the traffic violations had been pulled by a Democratic super PAC, the American Bridge. When the Politico article, and note, the Times, the Slimes, couldn't even be man enough to stand up and answer this themselves. They ran to this left-wing blog to give the answer. The Slimes said, yeah, well, we also researched, and it was just coincidence that we found it out at the same time as the American Bridge. Well, not true, because Free Beacon went back and researched it. Slimes was lying. This is supposed to be what happened to journalistic integrity again, because it turns out the only time that those records had been accessed was the time that American Bridge actually retrieved that information. Now, on the other hand, the Slimes, when they were reporting on the other side about Hillary Clinton's shady Clinton Foundation dealings, they were very open that their information came from a conservative author. So why wouldn't they be open about the other side? That just shows no integrity whatsoever. And that $100,000 charity thing, that was also reported on, and then they tried to get the New York Times, the Free Beacon tried to get the New York Times to comment, but then instead, again, they ran to the Politico blog. What's the matter with these guys? They are so sad. This shows that the integrity of the New York Slimes is just absolutely down in the toilet. And if I were reading it, I would stop reading it now. Same way I'm going to stop going to McDonald's since they hired that liar, Baghdad Bob Gibbs. Yes, he's now working for McDonald's as Officer Communications because the head of McDonald's wants to turn them into a nice progressive company. Well, they can progress without me because I ain't going there no more. Okay, folks, time for the final commercial break. Some new commercials this week, so listen to them. If you have need of their services, please use the 800 number, as I've mentioned before. If you are interested in the services and you call the 800 number, this helps support the show. I'll be back shortly.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now. And in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-424-3790 and get 2 bottles free. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-424-3790. That's 800-424-3790.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And thanks for sticking with me. That was the final break. We're into the last segment of the show. Boy, time has rushed by. Still got a couple of things that I want to talk about. At the beginning of the show, I talked about this regime having its crusade against guns. And so let's talk about that. The new topic is the fact that Obama is attempting to float new regulations that would outlaw videos and writing about gun technical specifications. Now, he's tying this in to the ITAR, which is the international, international law on international traffic in arms regulations. That's what it is, right? And they tie into something called the Federal's Arms Export Control Act. And what they're trying to say now, these rules govern anything to do with any kind of weapon whatsoever. I've done work at defense contractors, and ITAR is mentioned all the time because you've got to be very careful. Anything that could faintly resemble a weapon is covered by ITAR, and there are very strict rules on that. But now what they want to do, the Department of State is going to demand that anyone who puts technical details about arms and ammo on the web First, get the okay from the federal government or face a fine of up to $1 million and 20 years in jail. So, folks, think about that. Technical details about arms and ammo on the web. So anybody, they could claim, they're going to say, oh, well, no, we wouldn't do that. No. But do you trust them after all these other departments have been, like the IRS, the EPA, have been caught attacking conservatives? Do you really trust them? I don't. So anyone who puts any kind of video together, puts it on YouTube talking about guns. There's lots of gun tests out there showing how to shoot, showing how to reload. Technically, that's on the web, and that has to be okayed by the Department of State beforehand. Folks, this is just another power grab. This is just another backdoor way to limit arms. In other words, restrict our Second Amendment rights, and at the same time attacking the First Amendment, because isn't it our right to say what we want? Yes, it is, but they don't listen to that. So, this is just unbelievable, and we've got to fight back and stop this from happening. Now, will it happen? I don't know. But it's been put out. It's been published in the June 3rd issue of the Federal Register. They have to publish it before they actually start implementing them. So, folks, start calling your congressmen, your senators, and tell them they have to do something about this, because this is just another example of the bureaucracy taking over, right? Because if the State Department decides this and puts these regulations in, who are they accountable to? Nobody, just to the regime, just to the White House, not to us. We have no way of doing anything about it. We have given away too much power. Well, folks, I see we're slowly coming to the end of the show. I want to say once again, thank you for coming. I want to remind you that, yes, the show has been broadcast on redstatetalkradio.com, on the405media.com, and also you can find me at Podomatic, you can find me at Spreaker.com, you can find me at archives.patrickcomelately.us, and also on things like Stitcher, TuneIn, I believe iTunes, YouTube, lots of different places to get your fix of Patrick Come Lately. If you want to communicate, if you've got questions or comments about tonight's show or any other show, please send me an email, stephan@patrickcomelately.us. And you can also go to my site, www.patrickcomelately.us. There is a contact form there. Click on that and send me a message. I do like hearing from my listeners. It's nice to know there are people out there. When the chat room doesn't freeze, it's very nice to see Rex and Paul a lot of the time, and also last week we had Mary, so we do have other people coming in now and again. It's nice to know that you are out there live when I'm doing this, but it's also nice to know that so many of you listen to the show through the rebroadcast, and I appreciate it very much. Unfortunately, we need to up some of the numbers, because I noticed I'm not in the top 5 at Red State Talk Radio anymore, but then again, the competition there is very strong, a lot of very good hosts, and I really recommend do go there and listen. But if you can, get your friends to listen to me as well, and let's get my numbers up. Okay, folks, it's that time to say TTFN. There's the music. It's been fun this week. Handled almost everything I wanted to, but I've still got some interesting stuff for a future week, so come back. TTFN. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.